well, do you love her? And he said, oh, sure. Okay. I said, are you in love? And he looks at me like I'm leading a trap, which I was. And I said, yeah. I said, do you want to? He said, I don't know. I said, do you want to find out if you're in love with her or not? He said, yeah. I said, move out.
So I remember one of the biggest cultural classes, if you want to call it that I had when I got here was trying to understand why for young ladies, there's such a big focus on being cute over being sexy. Now, of course, you know, women want to be seen as both, but in the West, we have a kind of a focus, a hyper focus on how sexual you appear and, you know, you're accentuating your curves. And when I got here, you see TikToks like these, and she's not really revealing anything, right? I mean, she's a little, I mean, I guess she's kind of exposing her midriff, I guess. But other than that, it's just really relatively conservative. But the whole point of the TikTok is, look at how cute I am. And I just remember thinking, why is it so different? Why are young ladies here so focused on cute over being sexy? And what I came to realize after a couple of decades here is that, well, quite simply, the way that we're courting in the West is not the right way to court. Okay, so we're going to listen to Dr. John Francis. I think I said his name right. And he's going to tell us about the effects that our kind of way of dating is having on us.
The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. If a person is promiscuous prior to marriage, why wouldn't they be promiscuous after marriage?
Okay. And so I want to start by saying that in our society, especially in the West, our primary determinant for is a person going to be a good match for us these days is more than likely how sexually attracted are you to them. You get over that hump first, and then you start dealing with, okay, now do they have a good personality? You know, are they, you know, friendly and all those other things? But the first determinant is, do they have the curves in the right places? And do they fulfill me in a way that is you know, that's going to fulfill me long term? And so that leads, of course, to how can you be good at that part of pleasing someone without the practice? And so that kind of sort of places a premium on promiscuous behavior, because on one side, guys want to be at least somewhat pleasured by their mate. And on the other side, women feel like they need at least some kind of experience to please the mate that they want to be with. On top of the fact that, you know, our society is kind of preaching to young ladies, you know, you can be as hyper, you know, sexual as men can be, and it's only fair.
Psychologically, that's how it works. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody that was promiscuous prior to marriage is going to cheat after they get married. But, and there's no perfect solution, but there is a way to deal with this.
Okay. Now, he's going to talk about a way of dealing with dating that would work in our society. And to be honest with you, it's, you know, I mean, I think he's a Catholic priest on top of being a psychologist, but it's something that's going to run counter to what we're told in modern day society. So in this next 15 seconds, he's going to basically explain why American dating doesn't work.
Because it's easy to fall to fall in love with sex, but you have to fall in love with the person, and you're just not going to make proper decisions when about whether you love the person when you're having relations with them.
Okay, so I mean, that's pretty simple, right? I mean, it's a pretty simple idea, but the fact that our dating method is so centered around, you know, do they make me feel good? Do I get aroused? If your whole central thing about dating is sexual, you're in the cloud of lust and how good it feels and what your friends think about and the possibility that you might have a family together. And these things are clouding your judgment on this very simple idea of, do you even like this person or not? Do you like the person, or do you like the way they make you feel? And for a lot of young guys who might be going overseas for the first time, the oldest trick in the book, the easiest trap that is out there is for a young, impressionable guy who's got his things together, meet someone who, you can use the RP stuff. She might be post-wall, she might be close to the wall, whatever. And she sees the guy, and she just, for 2-3 months, she just gives him ideal everything, right? From not just the physical part, but to the cooking and all that other stuff, and just be the ideal mate for 2 or 3 months. And maybe she might be genuine, or maybe she might be not so genuine. But for a guy who's, a lot of guys aren't getting as much attention, that's ideal. And you're thinking, wow, if I can have this forever, and you fall into the trap. And the trap is simply that you're not thinking logically, right? You're not thinking the way that you should be, in that, I need to test this lady, and I need to get some more information on this. But it's very easy to fall in that trap. And the way we have been, socialized in the West is that if the relations are good, if the sex is good, and she's cute enough for you, and she's nice, then that's a wife. And that's why we're getting it so wrong. Okay, so here he's basically going to talk about how it actually works, how to do it so that it actually works. And the funny thing about it is, we know the answer. We just don't listen to the truth anymore. We don't listen to it.
But what I would say about a person, you're interested in a person that says that they're not going to, that they were promiscuous, and that's all behind them, and they're not going to do that. Okay, there's no reason why you shouldn't believe them. But what it means is that you need a long engagement, and you have to watch, because if a person is addicted to sex.
Okay, now I actually want to stop him here, because he used sex, but it could be sex. This is actually 13 years ago, so it could be sex. It could also be attention. It could be attention. So if you're dating someone who is very used to getting a lot of social media attention, or attention when they go outside, or just, they might even see you as high value attention, and you go through a spell where you're not giving that person as much attention, and then they might feel like they need to seek that source somewhere else. If you have enough time in the engagement period, enough time to know that person, and you're removing yourself from the fog of, oh my gosh, her hips, or oh my gosh, the way she makes me feel, then you could see stuff, and you could see the right stuff. Continuing.
He's not going to be able to deal without any sex for a year. I had a time for a story.
All right. Now he's going to tell a really good story. And you heard part of that story in the beginning, but what is really simple is this, this just goes back to the way we used to date. You're dating to see if you can get along with each other. But what we've done in the West now is we've taken all of that, and we've just gotten straight to the physical part. And if the physical part feels good, and of course it's supposed to feel good, that's like hundreds of millions of years of human genetics, or hundreds of millions of years of human genetics and evolution. Of course it's supposed to feel good, but is good sex a good predeterminate to whether a relationship's going to work? Clearly it's not, because now in our society, we are more, the women are more sexually available and active than ever before in terms of their sexual freedoms. And they're having as much access as they want to the guys that they're having access to. And we're not getting more marriages, and we're not getting more families. And the story.
Time for a story. I had one of my clients came in and he says, Doc, he says, me and my girlfriend been together for 5 or 6 years, and she's been bugging me, and she wants me to marry her. And he says, I feel like I really, really should marry her after all. It's been a long time. I said, do you think so? He says, yeah. He says, but I don't know, I don't know whether it's the right thing or not. I said, well, do you love her? And he said, oh, sure. Okay. I said, are you in love? And he looks at me like I'm leading a trap, which I was. And I said, yeah. I said, do you want to? He said, I don't know. I said, do you want to find out if you're in love with her or not? He said, yeah. I said, move out.
Okay, and there it is. For a guy who's dating a woman and they basically are and we've heard this for time and time again, where it's, you save that living together and all that stuff for marriage, and we look at our grandparents like, what are you thinking about? We're progressive. We're going to do it a new way. And a new way is, you're getting a lot of people that are in that fog of how convenient the relations are, and it doesn't work. We see it doesn't work, because let's say that you have a live-in situation with like 4 or 5 different boyfriends, 4 or 5 different girlfriends, and then how can you, the sixth one, how are you going to be able to evaluate that relationship properly? And so the advice, of course, is don't live together, and if you're having relations, just understand that you're not thinking in a logical way if you are having some sort of, emotional tie via the physical relationship that you're having. It sounds like common sense, but we have divorced ourselves from that to common sense. And so I'm sure for a lot of passport bros, you go overseas and there's possibility that you can meet someone and the first 2 or 3 months are just completely awesome. You move in together, you start pretending that you're married, and then before you know it, you're thinking, this is the most perfect situation I've ever had. Let me cement it. And you both might be in the fog of that emotional, tidal wave. And you might end up in the end with something very different than what you thought you had in the beginning. And to end, the advice.
Move out of the apartment. Date her. Don't go into the apartment. Date her for a year. See if you still love her without the sex. I said, if you still love her, then marry her, because now you're in love with her.
Now, that runs counter to basically everything that we've been taught. If you're not sexually compatible, then that means that your relationship's not going to work. And one of the things I've noticed here is that one of the drivers for the cute culture, if you want to call it that, right, is that the cute culture is so focused on, look at me, I'll be cute for you, and the driver is not necessarily that. I mean, of course, there's part of the drivers that there's a sexually, pulling component to it, but it's also like, look at me, I'll be cute for you, or look at me. You could call it protection, if you will, but yes, I would like a man to come and be my protector, if you will, right? And it's a lot different in that the appeal is not necessarily that I'm going to make you feel good, physically, but I'm going to make you feel good emotionally. You'll get to protect me, and I'll be this soft, kind of cute thing. She has a filter, by the way, but I'll be this soft kind of character, or the soft girl that you get a chance to protect. And that is a kind of a strong difference in what we come from in the West, because we're always taught, that the sexual driver is the main driver. And so he says at the end here, let's see if I can catch it. At least I can catch it.
True sex is when a man and a woman love each other completely, totally, and exclusively. And you only get that in marriage.
Okay, so you heard that, right? He said basically the best way for sex to work is in marriage. Now that runs counter to everything that we learn in our culture now. But I mean, look around. We have more sexual freedom than we've ever had in the West. Are people happier? Because I wouldn't say they are. So for you guys that are, thinking about going overseas, make sure you understand you're going to have to do that deliberation part separate from sex. You might meet someone that you have the best 2-3 weeks, couple months of your life, and you think, you know what, let me see if I can lock this up with a marriage. and that's just not the way it works. And that's not even, I'm not even being radical there. Make sure that you can have a clear head when you're making your decisions about, you know, who you're going to be with, because if you can do that right, you can probably get the relationship that you want and more. That said, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.